Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. We are happy to be here and grateful that you took the time to attend. So let me go ahead and share my screen and then we'll get started with the presentation. Today, we're going to talk about navigating educational options. And it's about understanding school choice and what that means, may mean to you, because it can mean different things to different people, right? Just like any other definition or any other concept. But school options become a hot topic as of late because there's so many of them now. So we're going to try to break all that down today. And we're going to take a look at each one with a definition and a little bit of an explanation of the best we can of what those mean to us. I'm Buster Nicholson. I'm the Executive Director for Love Your School, West Virginia. And my background is my wife and I homeschooled our children from 1997 to 2021. We have 4 kids, homeschooled them all. I've also taught in the public school arena. I was a 2nd grade teacher, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And also had a tutoring center that I helped high school kids navigate finding a career. So that was one of my things. And the tutoring center also helped a lot with algebra, as many parents know out there, homeschool parents and public private school parents, algebra is kind of tough. So I did well in that area, the tutoring with algebra and geometry. Also served in the administrative level over in the central office at in the school in my county, and just been exposed to a lot of different educational opportunities that I'm very grateful for, and I enjoy the education space. So I'm happy to be here. I've been with Love Your School for a little over a year now, and just helping parents in West Virginia to deal with any school option that they may have, private, public, homeschool, and our Hope Scholarship we have here. So thank you for having me. I'm very pleased to be here and looking forward to this.
Yeah, hi. I am Lindsay White, and I have the joy of working with families as the parent support coordinator here in Arizona. I'm originally from the Midwest, but we moved to Arizona almost 10 years ago, just as my oldest daughter was entering kindergarten, and we were kind of blown away by all of the options, the school options that there are here. And my background is in organizational communications, and I just love working with the team out here in Arizona. I guess I've been here for about a year too, Buster.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to have you, Lindsay. She does such a great job with the parents in Arizona. We're so happy to have her for sure. And thanks for joining me today, Lindsay. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
So I'd like to start off with the agenda, just talk about what we're going to do. We're going to talk about school choice. What is it actually? Again, the definition depends on your understanding of that, but we're going to try to meet somewhere and hopefully agree on a definition here. The options, we're going to break those down for you so you can say, hey, I like this, or I'm interested in that. So it's kind of a high level view today of what we're going to be covering. Flexibility is a real important topic for those that are interested in school choice. That's why they're interested in it, right? Back in the, 20s, 30s, 40s, back in the 80s, when I was in school, I was like, well, there wasn't a lot of flexibility, right? With school choice, it's public school pretty much, or private school, not much beyond that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about, well, what would be some pointers, some tips on how you would choose a school. So we want to talk to you about that. Hopefully you'll get something out of that piece as well, because you might be sitting here like, wow, there's a lot of options. I don't know what to choose. So we'll work through that in a process. So what is school choice? So we got somebody here with a thinking cap on, right? Just a thought bubble, as that was called, with the comic strip there. But what some people see it as public education funds. We have an ESA out in Arizona. We have something similar to that, the Hope Scholarship here, which are public education funds that the parent can use to choose many different options that we'll cover. So that will be a school choice idea, right? I'm taking these public funds and applying them, whether a public school, a private school, a charter school, all kinds of different options for schooling your child. But school choice really boils down to the power is in the hands of the parents and the students, right, to decide what is best for them. So that's the way I like to say it. It's what's best for you. You decide that, right? It's the ultimate in like decentralization. You know, I'm a big crypto guy. I love Bitcoin and all that. So, our money is just one, but with cryptocurrencies, there's thousands. And I like the idea. It's like, wow, I can choose which one I want to use. I have all these choices. So my opinion is I do like school choice. I like the idea because I'm a big proponent of decentralization. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Lindsay?
Yeah, I was just going to say, as I talk to families, one of the things that I think is sometimes helpful is just the feeling that they're not trapped. Even if the school is working great now, that's perfect. But if it ever isn't working well, they're not trapped in that school. They can find something that's a better fit for them.
I love that. That makes so much sense because,
Mhm.
people feel trapped. They get backed into the corner like I have no options.
Yeah.
And that's a really bad feeling, isn't it? You're like, I don't have any options, but now we do. And it's a very exciting time, I think, to live in with
Yeah.
all these options.
Yep.
Wow, look at that. A segue into that slide. What all? I didn't plan that again. What are my schooling options, right? So we'll cover those, and we have a few slides here that we'll get into. We have traditional public school,
Mhm.
right, which was pretty much our only option until recently, right? Again, homeschooling was an option. My wife, I love to tell the story. She grew up all over the place. Her stepfather was a contractor for the Army. So they
Okay.
went out in the Southwest, East Coast, Hawaii, Germany. So when she lived in Germany in the 80s, going to high school there in Ramstein,
Wow.
she ran across this homeschool family and she said, that is really weird. I will never homeschool my kids.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. And then we homeschool all of our kids.
Yep, yep.
So I tell the story because like, wow, it was so unusual, no choices, just the public school is all we pretty much had. But the one
Yep.
thing I want to bring out about the public school that's very interesting that I've learned recently, because I never encountered this in my personal life, was, you have this open enrollment, right?
Yes.
So you can go ahead and send your child to a school in another county, which we have here in West Virginia, Kanawha County. They have an online school that anybody in the state can attend. So that would be open enrollment. That's an example, right?
Okay. Hmm.
So very interesting piece of it, but it doesn't really happen because you got to transport your child, right? So
Hmm.
you got to
Here,
do.
here in Arizona, especially in Metro of Phoenix, there's a lot of open enrollment that happens, and it's great because it's like, oh, I'm interested in that district because it's not very far away. Where I am, I'm very close to three different, completely separate school districts. So it
Wow.
just opens up those possibilities. Yeah.
And I think that a lot of that's sports driven too, I would assume,
It
right?
can be, yep. Or it's like, oh, this school has a great theater program, or this school has this. So it's a great way to give options even within that traditional district structure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Option within option, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Private school, I would say, really is when I think about school choice is like up there, right?
Hmm.
You totally pick because you're paying for it out of your pocket. You're totally picking what you want.
Yep.
A Catholic school, you might want a school that's focused on trades. You might want, like you said, heavy theater, liberal arts program, classical education. Right, I hear that one too a lot. So private school is one of the oldest in my thought process, school options, school choice
Yes.
options out there.
Absolutely.
And this was shocking to me, 4.7 million. That's crazy. By 2021, that's a lot of kids.
That is a lot of kids. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, I like factoids,
Yep.
They
Yep.
just interesting to me. Wow, 5 million kids.
Yeah.
So what are the differences between the private and public schools? You've got one tuition free and one is, covered by tax money. Usually, a levy, a school levy or property tax in the
Mhm.
form of, payment. And then private schools, they can set their own admission standards, whereas public schools, they got to accept all students,
Yep.
regardless of whatever they just got there from another district. They don't, from my experience in the administrative level, we never asked like any questions at all of a student. It was just everybody signed up. We just checked, their age and put them where they would go, and that was it, which is good. It's good to have that availability.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is really interesting. It's a fairly new concept, right? With the charter school, 1991, wasn't that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota passed that law. We have 7,800 charter schools now. 7,800. It's
Yep.
really interesting. Some of them now, the new thing is some of them are online, right?
Yes.
Uh, what I like about the charter school is you get that that private school vibe, that feel. The rules are a lot more loose, but then you don't have to come up with money out of your pocket. So it's kind of an interesting concept for the fact that you wonder why I wonder why public schools just don't do this. Here's your STEM school, here's your trade school,
Right.
education school, because like you had mentioned, right, the open enrollment could accommodate this idea in addition.
No, I mean, Arizona has such a robust system of charter schools. My family personally, we've used two different charter schools, had great experiences with them, but it gives the family an opportunity to choose something that's a little different. We've had our kids in a classical charter school. We've also had them in a STEM charter school. Again, great experiences with both, but very different experiences. So the thing that's funny with charters is people, especially if they're coming from out of state, which here in Arizona, we have a lot of transplants, myself included. They're surprised that it is public. They assume it's a private school because it offers so many of the things that you associate with a private school. But yeah, then no tuition, which is nice.
Yes, and one thing I do want to add is like normally the law says that the charter school needs to have a board.
Okay.
So instead of going to the school board that's over top of the entire county or district, you have this personalized board that you can get closer to, right? By just a meeting or it's just to me a lot more personal and you have as a parent a little bit more influence on like the curriculum and the direction of the school.
There's usually a really strong community aspect at those charter schools because those families have really bought into the vision that charter school is casting.
Yeah, and from what I've seen, the board encourages that, right? The family participation. In the application for the charter school, if you want to open one here in West Virginia, that is a whole section that you have to fill out. How are you going to involve the families? How will you communicate to the parents?
Nice.
Great stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
Now this one, this micro school,
yeah,
I joke about it because it's kind of the catch-all after you these real defined ones. I'm a homeschooler, public school. This one is has a fluid definition, I would say. Is it three children taught by just a parent is helping somebody else's child learn, or is it a co-op of parents that have 15 or 50 kids? Is it I've seen many definitions online. I kind of see it as I would say a very small private school, one-room schoolhouse vibe to it.
They are so, as I talk to parents who are interested in micro schools, kind of the thing that I communicate with them is each of them is so specific, so different. You know what I mean? You could try this micro school here and have a horrible experience, and over here you absolutely love it. It just depends because it is such a smaller organization or organism of people and relationships and that teacher and whatnot. And again, they can get so specific in how they want to teach those kids, what curriculum they use, their schedule can be very fluid. I've seen micro schools that have a big value on school trips, taking them different places because it's a van load of kids, so it's very flexible, but then still offering that social interaction that's built in. Not with many kids, but with a few kids, you have a lot of interaction with them.
Yeah, and it's really great. And I will tell this short story. I mean, the public school, my first year, I had 35 kids in a room, 35 fifth graders.
Wow. Okay.
Wow, that was tough. But then 3 years later, I had 17 fourth graders. It was the best year I had.
I bet.
Because then I saw the stark difference. I was like, wow, I can really help these kids on an individualized basis. I have the time, I have the energy.
Yep.
I have, just a lot less management issues. So, in my opinion, this 15 is like perfect. It's
Hmm.
a 15 number. I wouldn't go much over that. From my own experience, it starts to get a little more difficult to manage. That's when you probably want to bring someone else on. But still, at the same time, even the other person on, it's still tough, when you get into 25-ish number.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's an exciting and it feels new, like a new option that families are finding out about for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And so open, create your own feel, like you said.
Yeah.
All right, these magnet schools, basically, the public schools, and it kind of feels like a charter school to me, but it's
Yep.
not because it goes under the same rules, right? But we have one here that is called Thomas Jefferson, and it's basically a STEM science
Okay.
feel to it, and it's a total of public school. So in fifth grade, they have this program called Futura, where they find the students that excel, I guess you could say, test high and all these kind of things. So they're candidates to go off to the school, and they bus them over there.
Okay. Very.
So yeah, and they go the middle school, I think they go like 2 days a week, but then in high school it's full time. So that would be a magnet school. STEM usually seems to be the big thing for a magnet school, STEM learning.
Hmm. Hmm. We don't have the same structure, I don't think, for magnet schools out here in Arizona. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, but to me, charter, magnet,
so
similar.
similar. Yeah.
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 And then the homeschool, now this is the ultimate flex, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. I was taking my son, my last one, you get down to the last kid and you're like, eh, you know,
Right. Right.
I don't know, I'm kind of giving away the secrets, but you're like, yeah, at the end, you know what I mean? You really push it on the first one, and then the last kid, you're like, you're not doing it, am I? I was
Yeah.
like, but I did have him because I evolved right as we were doing it. I didn't actually teach him, my wife was, but I'm like, I want life skills. So I had him switch out we're in an older house. I had him switch out all the light switches and plugs. And we went to the panel and I showed him how to shut it down and make sure it was shut down. Use the tester, the two prongs into the plug before pulling it out. Oh my gosh, we did all kinds of stuff like that.
Aw.
And that's when I kind of took the Becca curriculum and put it over here, and
Yeah.
started to just do these things. And my son now has his own landscaping business, and it paid off because he changed his own blades, changed the oil on his
Up.
commercial mower. He has his truck, his trailer,
Mhm.
hems it, preventative maintenance to it. So that was a really kind of stumbled into that, right? Because I was thinking I want to be more flexible. I don't want to do this, it's
Yep.
like I want life skills, and we got into cryptocurrency. I showed him how to do a digital wallet, how to trade the currencies. I was just doing things. It was not really planned.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, he needs to know how to do that. Oh, he needs to do, and that's what I loved about homeschooling, that sort of flexibility. And it, like I said, paid off huge for him.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
So big proponent of homeschool. And one thing I will say before we move to the next slide, it was an unintended consequence for those of you out there that have young children homeschool or know somebody. Now that my kids are adults, they are so close because my daughter was 10 when the youngest one that did the switches and everything was born.
Okay.
Plugs and changing them all out. So when he was born, I mean, she was basically a surrogate mom. She'd carry him around and work with him on his school. And she was learning too, right? The best way to learn is to teach. So she was learning too, but now they're just so tight, as adults. Highly recommend that part if you want that to happen, because it's not just people say, well, it's quality time, not quantity. I think it's quantity and quality.
Sure, sure. Yeah, it's a major, I feel like all of these school options, they affect the whole family, right? Depending on how far like it's a family thing, but specifically for homeschooling, you see a
Yeah.
lot of benefits. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Good, good. I'm happy we did it. It worked for us, you know. And this I threw in there because this can be multiple things. So I just helped an individual open a school here in West Virginia, and it's a hybrid. So
Okay.
she has a physical location, but the students can, if they want, she has a lot of flexibility for online. They can do online. They can check in the morning, and they can check in periodically or come in once or twice or the whole week.
Yep.
Really cool idea. I love it. And I love the fact that this hybrid thing, this online learning has picked up a lot of steam, right, since 2020. So I think this is a huge asset for parents. And I'm going to get in, and students, definitely. I'm going to get into this a little later about synchronous and asynchronous learning, which I think this plays a part in. But I do love the idea of online learning, not for everything,
Yep.
but it is a huge, to me, a great tool.
Well, and you can see online learning with homeschooling. There are charters who offer online learning. There are districts who offer, like that, the online, it overlaps with a lot of these different options. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, good. That's a really great point. It overlaps. Yeah. And it's integrated into almost every one of these now.
Yep.
You know, okay, so let's talk about how this school choice, we've been talking a lot about flexibility, but let's dig a little bit deeper into that idea of flexibility. Why do you want this flexibility? Why do I care? So I have a couple of reasons why you might want that. And it's educationally, I think it's based soundly in educational principles.
Mhm.
So when we talk about education and we talk about individualized learning, that gets thrown around a lot, right?
Mhm.
And one thing I'm a big fan of is like the Myers-Briggs test.
Oh, yeah.
I came across it years ago and I gave it to all my kids, and it's a personality test for you, those of you that don't know, and you end up in these quadrants. They put you on this graph. And what happens is if you have four letters, INTJ or INJT, whatever, and they stand for something. But anyway, you can take that and you can say, well, what jobs would I be fulfilled at? Not just, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money. I mean, no, what am I going to go get up every morning and say, I like this, I love this, I want to do this. That to me was my goal for my kids.
Mm.
So, the why I bring up the Myers-Briggs is that the individualized learner is real. It's a real thing. It's like, so we have to take into account a lot of different things that make up an individual, and we need to set them up for success. We need to create this environment where they're going to be successful. It's going to make them happier adults, right? You spend how much time at your job? I mean, a lot, right? So it needs to fit you. And I looked years ago, I looked at a survey. I don't know how accurate it was, but they said 80% of Americans hate their jobs.
Oh, my word.
80%. 80%.
Wow.
Well, think of it's like 60. That's still bad. I mean, we're failing at education. It should be maybe 20.
Right.
Well, a couple slip through the cracks. But
Right.
even over half or over to me is a failure, because what should we be doing in our education? Be looking into the future and
Right.
preparing our kids for work, a career that they're like, this fits my personality and my strengths. So we're going to look at the curriculum, the schedule, the social interaction, the assessment in light of that paradigm, right? That idea.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to that, Lindsay?
No, I think that's a really looking to the future as a parent when you're considering these schooling options is very key. Yeah, for sure.
Right. I like to look and then I work backwards. I'm like, okay, here's the ending point, 22, 25 out,
Yeah.
doing their thing, loving it.
Mhm.
So what I wanted to do was just cover these curriculums. These are curriculum types. There's 8 types, and I'm not going to get into the weeds on this because I just want you to know that they exist, right? So it's just an introduction to say they exist. And I put this word cloud up here. I had to do one of these in my master program, this word cloud that I looked at this thing and I just went cross-eyed, right? I was like, wow, this is wild, and I made this word cloud for curriculum because I know parents out there from even the homeschooling is like, what do I choose? I mean, there's so many of these, right? And you said, oh, I don't want to make a mistake. And so I just wanted to show the written, taught, supported, assessed, recommended, hidden, excluded, learned. My advice here is to go look at those, go look at the types.
Mhm.
And knowing that was something like the Myers-Briggs, or you know your kid better than anyone, say, what type of curriculum would my student best learn as an individual learner? What would work for them? Maybe even it's a combo of two of
Right.
them. But
Right.
my point with this slide is to say, these exist. Now you know, take an hour and
Mhm.
just go look at them. You can just Google this list, come back and look at this later, write them down, whatever, email me, I'll send you the slide, whatever. But just letting you know that it's out there.
Yeah. Well, and even for parents who maybe, because it can be overwhelming, all the different options of curriculum, if they can even narrow down, I'm thinking of parents who call me and their kid is really, let's say, struggling with math, like it is not going well, and maybe they're looking to make a change. Something that can be helpful is to find out what kind of curriculum are they using, just so that you can assure that's not the same curriculum that you would transition into. So even by exclusion, of like, what do you know isn't working, that can help you make choices.
I love that. Yeah. And it's just getting it into the parent's mind that, there's a lot of different ways and they're geared towards the learner. Are they visual? Are they kinesthetic? Are they auditory? And
Yep.
these things you have to find out. We'll get into a little bit more into that in a couple of slides here. Scheduling. I had one son that would stay up till 2, and I'm in bed, right? I'm going to bed at 10 o'clock. I'm in bed. I don't know what he's doing, right? He's
Yeah.
13, 14. He's like, can't get out of bed in the morning. So the asynchronous learning
Mhm.
works better for him, right? The asynchronous learning is basically occurs at different times, but a project-based learning will be a good example that would fit into this, right? Oh, I have to have this project due by this deadline. Doesn't matter when I do it. I can do it at 2 a.m. I can do it at noon, but
Mhm.
it's due. And I think I like asynchronous learning because it takes pressure off the parents, takes
Yep.
pressure off the teacher. It's like, I'm here as a facilitator to help you. You tell me, I'm talking about when they get older, right? Not 7,
Yeah.
7 or 8. When they get older, it's like, you
Yeah.
tell me where and when you want to meet. You drive the bus, right? You are asynchronous 5. Let's look at our schedules, and I'm going to help answer these questions, but it should definitely be on a consistent and regular basis, right? This meeting time, this getting together and planning. So asynchronous is a way that many students will excel at. It's okay to say, not everybody's the same, right? It's okay to say, well, you don't have to get up at 7 and work till 3. I mean, you tell me what works for you, gives you a little more leverage too as a teacher and a parent. I said, I gave you a lot of space, right? But
Yeah.
I do have expectations, and you should have expectations of your own learning.
Right. I love
So
I love how for older students they have a lot of ownership in that then. They know that this week they can do it anytime this week. It helps them learn those time management skills. And it's a it's a great setup for careers then too. Because usually that's how it is. It's kind of like, well, you need to do this stuff, but typically no one's sitting there saying it has to be done like in this hour. So
yeah,
I like it too. I'm a big fan of that.
yeah, and it's fine if they fail on the deadline. There's another teaching opportunity, right? What could we have done differently? And usually it comes down to procrastination or something like that. So it's
Mhm.
learning how you learn, right? They learn how they learn. Another huge milestone in the educational journey of a student.
Yeah. And
But
it, sorry, I was
good.
gonna say a great option too if you have kids who maybe have health issues where they have times of more energy or less energy, neurodivergent kids where there might be times of day that work better for them, or even if you have students who are maybe on sports teams or have intense schedule demands, it frees them up to be able to do that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love yes, great reasons for all those are great reasons for asynchronous.
Mhm.
Synchronous, on the other hand, does work for some students. I've had students that were boom, they sit down, bam, pull out the crayons and start, and
Yep.
they're always asking me,
Yeah.
when are we doing this? When are we doing that? You know, when I taught the second graders, and I'd say, I have the schedule right there. So I have to move kids over because they were very synchronous, right? I mean, boom, the clock was everything to them, which is
Mhm.
great too. So I was like, oh, this is good. So you can play to that strength, right?
Yep.
As well. So
Absolutely.
flexibility, right?
Yep.
The social interaction, I wanted to cover that a little bit. All the choices we gave back on the front end, the micro school, the homeschool, the charter school, the pub. Social interaction is involved in every one of those scenarios. How much do you want your student involved in social interaction? How little? How much does the student want to be involved?
Mhm.
Some kids are overstimulated, right? I've had kids in the public classroom. I'm like, this is not a good environment for them. It is not. Just
Mhm.
overstimulated, just too much going on, and hard for them to focus. So, you know, and every parent wants to obviously pick, help to pick their kids' friends, is somewhat and who they're hanging out with. Every parent is interested in that, and so this is in, I think, in the forefront of a lot of parents' minds is the social interaction, right? This is why these choices are made.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
So you have things that you can achieve by selecting that, right? You can help your student achieve. And I
Mhm.
have those listed here, interpersonal intelligence, which is one of the 9 intelligences, right?
Mhm.
Interpersonal, I think would help. Intra and interpersonal would be 2 areas where this would be huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then I really wanted to touch base on this because I am big as an educator on assessment. As I mentioned, the Myers-Briggs,
Mhm.
personality assessments, content assessment, so many different types of assessment. When I say, when anybody says assessment, people are like, oh, standardized test. They
Right.
think about that, and you're thinking, well, depends on what you're assessing, right? Standardized test is a window, right? It's one data point, tiny little window in the whole journey, the whole educational journey. Assessment should happen all the time. Formative assessment is a good one. Summative assessment. The formative assessment would be like an interview. The interview doesn't have to be formal. You just sit down and like, hey, let's talk about this. Decide
Right.
why did you do that there, and what did you just questions, right? And
Yep.
listening for their responses. They're showing you understanding, right? So
Mhm.
formative assessment happens all along the path, right? You're looking at a problem they did and you're checking it.
Mhm.
It's just go ahead and you're forming, right, that pattern of them also assessing themselves. That's really where you want to be, right? So you're showing them, you're teaching them through example, through formative assessment, talking with them. I've got a couple written down here, a conversation, even them putting together a video to
Yeah.
show you what they've learned.
Mhm.
Then you have more summative assessment, which is basically standardized tests, quizzes, written exams, essays, and maybe portfolios, which I'm a big fan of, right? Portfolios, because it shows the entire progress, right?
Yeah.
The entire progress. You could pick out what you want to focus on, because when a student looks back, it's like, wow, 2 years ago, my writing just was not great.
Right. Right. What was happening there? Yeah.
Yeah, who doesn't like that too? I always say when I mow the grass, when I'm done, I just sit on the porch and look at it.
Yeah.
Look at it, right? I'm like, wow, this is great, and who doesn't love that? So
Yeah.
that portfolio gives that student that running
Mhm.
record and that running, and now you're competing against yourself, right, in a way, which is the best, my opinion, the best competition.
Right.
Like
Right.
I've done better. I know I can do even better than that. I'm like halfway, 3/4 of my journey, and I think those sort of wins that you can tangibly look at
Yes.
are huge for a student.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love how you're differentiating between the different types. It's good for parents to think through.
Yes, and you can use them all. Why not?
Mhm.
Just use them all.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we choose a school? We came with all these different choices. We said, hey, we're looking at social interaction, we're looking at assessment, we look at the type of school there is. So let's go through a process, like how do we land in the right school? I mean, how do we do that? What is best for our children? So what you want to do is you want to think, well, what do I need and
Yep.
what do I want?
Yep.
What do I need and what do I want? Now, this is where I'm going to plug in like Chat GPT, AI, just as a tool.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, it is an amazing tool. If you haven't used it, I highly recommend to play around with it. But you could type in there like, well, I want to choose a school. What sort of things should I look for as needs and wants? How would
Mhm.
I determine that? And this
Yes.
thing spit out like some ideas, right? But
Right.
how would you determine that? Well, through assessment with your child, all the assessments we went through, the conversations, the written, the online exam, the write an essay. What do you want out of a school day? What does your school day look like? Your typical school day. What type of friends are you looking for? These things could all help you. What are your interests? What do you love to do? It's tons of different things that, but you would definitely want to discuss it, I think, with the child, no matter what age they are, because you will glean something out of that.
Absolutely. It's a great conversation for the family. What are the goals as a family? What are the students' goals individually? Um, yeah, all of that to determine. I like separating it out. What do you need? What are the must-haves and what are the want-to-haves? It can be really clarifying.
Exactly, because we all gravitate towards the wants, right? We gotta confuse them with the needs, and I think we're gonna, in this list, the separate, we're gonna rely heavier on the need
Yep.
at the
Yep.
expense of the want. It'd be
Mhm.
great, but it's kind of an add-on.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the research, geographically, where is the school? Where do I want to go all the way over there? You think all that through. You think about your day as a parent. Am I
Hmm.
gonna accomplish this? Am I gonna get over there and get back? Do I have someone I can carpool with?
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
yeah, you can check out the school's websites, interview other people that go there, talk to the principal, talk to one of the teachers.
Yep.
Those are all wonderful ways to do that. And I like kind of on the spot interview, right? If you were there and they're coming out, hey, can I
Yep.
talk to you for a second? And just a parent, right? Can you just a second? People are really friendly, they're usually fine. Yeah, sure. I'm thinking about sending my child here. What are your thoughts? And then
Hmm.
you start getting a picture. All these different data points give you a picture, right?
Exactly. And if you've already determined what your needs are, then you're going to have a good idea of what questions to ask an administrator or some of those families. You'll know where to start with your questions. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I
Mhm.
love that. And then, yes, you tour, you go to the campus, something we talked about. There you go. There's your list of questions right there, right? You've already prepared those ahead. Okay. And then I like to look beyond your child's grade because my son was showing baseball skills at 8.
Okay.
So then we were like, okay, now what for the future? Since we homeschool, we ended up taking him, and it was 45 minutes from here, like a few times a week to a private school that allowed him to play on their team through high school. Um, I'm glad we did it. When the minute he turned 16, he got his license and we got him a car. It's like, you're doing it.
He was ready. He was ready to go.
Ready to go. I said, yeah, we got the car. Got like, boom, you're driving now. I mean, we put up with it, for a couple of years and then sent him over there. So yes, look beyond, right? Because we
Yes.
started thinking, it was like 5, 6 years, 7 years in advance. Okay, how are we going to do this? And we started looking around. Oh, there's an option over there. They allow homeschoolers to play
Yes.
with.
That came into play for our family for sure. The school that we sent our girls to for primary, as we looked ahead to those high school years, we knew that was not what we wanted for high school. So it's like, okay, that means somewhere in there we're going to have to off ramp to something else, and it helps you to plan ahead. It can also help clarify because sometimes people end up needing to make a shift when the kid is maybe in like fourth grade or something where it's like, okay, you're looking at an elementary school, but you're really looking at what does the middle school look like? Because within a year or two, that's what's going to be at play. So it's a good reminder to, again, keep the future in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Choice.
And then you want to, when you decide, you want to be happy with your decision, right? You want to be confident that you made the right decision. For me, I can only speak from my personal experiences. I do my due diligence, I do my research. And even if I later on think, that wasn't such a great decision, I never regret it because I go back and I always say, I don't want to regret this. So I spend the time up front
Yes.
doing the research, talking to people, everything, making the best informed decision I did. I think for me personally, if I just go into, oh, I like that, and then just pick it and go in, and then things go wrong, I try to beat myself up a little bit.
Yeah. You want to give yourself that reassurance that no, I looked through this. This was the best. One thing that comes into play, at least out here in Arizona, when it comes to open enrollment, or if you're applying to a private or even a charter school, we love to talk to parents right now, actually in the calendar, about to start thinking about it now for next year, because we have schools here where early November is when they're going to start doing their applications for the following year. So sometimes by not looking into it in time, the choice makes itself because suddenly there's not a spot or there's availability there. So even just being aware of those timelines can be super helpful for families. So they have maximum flexibility and time to take the tours and all of that too.
That's a great piece of advice. Be aware of the timelines, absolutely. And when you're applying for those ESAs, they're based on timelines. So know all that.
Yes.
And that's it.
There you go. Those are all the school choices. So
that's everything. Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for being with me. And thank you all out there for joining us. So glad you did. And I hope you learned something. If you need to hear any more, we are here for you no matter what school choice you decide to go with. Love Your School is here to help you navigate your school options and navigate the ESA, navigate Hope Scholarship. You have a problem in the school, like I don't understand the IEP process, you're in the public school, reach out to us. Any school issue, no matter where you send your child, Love Your School is there to help you. We charge nothing for a consult to consult you and help you get through those timelines, as Lindsay said. Anything, just reach out to us. We love it. We love what we do, and we love to help you. We're on Facebook. Yeah, follow us there, and Instagram, and our website has all of our contact information on it as well.
Yep, absolutely. We love helping families find the spot that's going to help their kid thrive. So whatever that looks like.
All right. Well,
Thanks.
thank you so much. And everybody have a wonderful day.
Thanks. Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.